New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by the State Farm agent of the game, Hector Camillo of the Bronx. Contact Hector at hectorcamillo.com. By Citi, learn about Citi perks at Mets.com/Citi. And by GMC, see the pros at your tri-state GMC dealers. GMC, we are professional grade. Get to Citi Field this Sunday for Family Sunday. Watch the Mets play the Twins at 1:10. The first 15,000 fans in attendance will receive David Wright eye black patches. I'll get that right. Courtesy of SNY. Plus, all kids 12 and under can run the bases after the game in the Mr. Met Dash presented by Northwell Health. For tickets, visit Mets.com/Family Sundays. Time for greater coverage of baseball, brought to you by T-Mobile. Big series started last night between the Giants and Cardinals. Johnny Cueto went the distance for San Francisco, allowed just 5 hits, his 5th complete game of the year, as the Giants beat the Cardinals 6-2. That put the Giants a game up on the Mets, and the Mets a game up on the Cardinals in the 3-way race for 2 wild card spots in the National League. Bartolo Colon will try and keep the Mets' hot ways going. Start of a 10-game homestand. Bart gets the ball. His first pitch is coming right up. Well, he's been arguably the greatest force in baseball the second half of the season. The Twins' leadoff hitter, Brian Dozier, 41 home runs on the year, 27 of them since the All-Star break. He has raised his game to a new level, and even though the Twins are languishing at the bottom of the American League, Brian Dozier has forefronted himself into one of the best players in the major leagues. Bartolo Colon getting set to face Dozier and the Twins tonight. And here's the lineup Paul Molitor will play tonight. Dozier in the leadoff spot. Joe Mauer, who missed 4 games because of quad injuries, DH'd yesterday, back in the field for the first time today. Max Kepler, the rookie from Germany, hits in the cleanup spot for the Twins against Colon.
Land Rover numbers. Interesting watching Colon's warm up there. More of a Luke warm up, as he doesn't put too much effort into it, but great effort this year for the 13 wins.
First pitch to Dozier on the outside corner for a strike, and we're underway. Dozier last year hit .236 with 28 home runs. This year .282 with 41 home runs. 98 driven in, 99 runs scored. And Colon keeping it on the outside corner to him, and it's 0-2.
Boy, 2 perfect pitches from Colon to start this at bat.
And Dozier goes after the third one away, and just like that, Colon takes care of the hottest home run hitter in the game for the first out of the night.
3 pitches, exact same spot, starts outside, comes over at the last second. Dozier was in between swinging.
And your Lexus Metzi defense, Granderson's been bouncing back and forth from center to right. He's in center today. Bruce in there. TJ Rivera getting the start at second base. And d'Arnaud, I thought, was a bit surprised back in the lineup tonight behind the plate.
Rene Rivera started the last 2. Here's Joe Mauer. Mauer, the 3-time batting champ, now 33 years old. Hitting .267 for the year, but top 10 in the American League in on-base percentage. And he whacks one foul. Colon has faced the Twins plenty during his career, but not in the last several seasons. 23 career starts against Minnesota. Mauer is 3 for 4 against Colon. Well, Joe Mauer has had himself quite a career. It's on its downswing now, ever since concussions took him out from behind the plate 3 years ago. But he has accomplished much in his career. An MVP, as we mentioned, 3 batting titles, 6-time All-Star for the hometown kid from St. Paul.
The interesting part, though, Gary, flushed out of that catching position. That's what made him special. Be able to do what he did behind the plate.
It also looked at one point in his career as though he was going to be more of a power hitter, but that went away as well.
Well, as soon as they built that ballpark, that huge target field in Minnesota, that's Paul Molitor. He has some at-bats against Bartolo Colon in his career.
Paul Molitor went to the same high school as Joe Mauer in St. Paul, Minnesota. Paul now in his 2nd year as the Twins skipper. And Mauer takes it just outside for ball 4, and so Colon issues a 1-out walk. Bartolo's 2nd best control in the National League at 1.6 walks per 9 innings. Well, Molitor's first year last year was a terrific one for the Twins. They won 83 games. It's their only winning season in the last 6 years. This year has gone very differently. Here's Jorge Polanco, the young shortstop, just 23 years old. He's been playing most of the shortstop since the Twins traded their all-star Eduardo Nunez to the Giants at the trading deadline. Twins have just come from Detroit, where they split a 4-game series with the Tigers, putting a crimp in Detroit's postseason hopes. Tigers 2 games out on the wild card, and they're hoping to play a similar spoilers role against the Mets this weekend.
They beat up on the ex-Met, ex-Twins pitcher Mike Pelfrey yesterday.
It's been so long since the Twins played here at Citi Field, 2010, that the last time they were here, Mike Pelfrey beat them. And they beat Johan Santana, who of course is royalty in Twins history. So one guy they would later have on their team, and one who they had prior. On the inside corner with Polanco jumping back, as Colon got the benefit of that 2-seamer, and it's 1-2.
So Quinn Walcott is not calling the ball away that Colon is throwing, but he's calling the one in. You know that Colon's going to try to take advantage of that.
1 out and 1 on. Max Kepler, the cleanup hitter, is on deck. Mauer no threat to go anywhere.
Well, Colon's pitch to the left-handers, it should not be, with all of today's advances in video, they should be very much aware that Colon loves to run that fastball at your hip if you're a left-hand hitter and bend it over the inside corner.
1-2 to the switch hitting Polanco, and he rips one down the line foul just over the glove of Loney as it went.
You're right, Keith. He was aware there, Polanco.
The Twins at this point consider Polanco their shortstop of the future. They had played him at third base for a while and used Eduardo Escobar at shortstop. Now they flipped the 2 of them because they feel that Polanco Unlike Escobar, who's more of a journeyman, has a real future at that spot for them. It's a team that seems to be constantly cycling in young players. Ground ball back to Colon. Hits Cabrera on target, and they double up Polanco. Beautifully done by Colon. Made that off-balance throw right on the money to start the 1-6-3 double play. A deceptive athlete.
Yes, sir. That's an athletic play right here.
Able to hit Cabrera right in stride, and that gets Barth through the top of the first. Mets come to bat, no score. The only change is behind the plate after Rene Rivera started the last two. Travis d'Arnaud is back in there tonight as the Mets take on the 22-year-old from Puerto Rico, Jose Barrios.
Well, Barrios has a lot of movement on his fastball. His breaking pitch is more of a slurve right now at this point of his development, kind of telegraphing that change.
Jose Reyes leading off. Reyes just 5 for his last 27, hitting .275 for the year. Fastball away, 1-1. Barrios 17 starts in AAA this year. He was up early in the season, April and May, for 4 starts with the Twins, and they sent him back, brought him back again the 1st of August, and he's been pretty much settled into the rotation since, but the results have not been good.
He's got that little bit of a curl back there, Ron. What do you call this?
Wraps the baseball. He did it worse in those first 11 starts. He's doing 2 things different. He's trying to drop that right arm by his right leg, and the other thing, he's going over his head with his hands. He's never done that in his short career. Minor leagues or major leagues.
Outside 3-2. Sorry, Ron.
Sorry, major leagues or minor leagues. He's just trying to get something to click in for this young man to get some timing.
Well, in the minors this year, he averaged less than 3 walks per 9 innings. As he issues a leadoff walk to Reyes, he's at 5.6 walks per 9 innings in the big leagues, and obviously that's just not going to play. And he walks the leadoff batter tonight.
And there's your Coors Light defense, the Twin defense. Max Kepler, born in Berlin, Germany, and resides there to this day. Joe Mauer, Gary mentioned earlier that was the former catcher. Now he's been playing first base for quite some time. And behind the plate, the veteran Kurt Suzuki.
I'm excited to see Byron Buxton in center field. He's got a reputation as a terrific defensive outfielder, although he hasn't hit much yet in the big leagues. Here's Asdrubal Cabrera, 25 games off the disabled list, hitting .367. And he fouls back the first pitch fastball from Barrios.
You talked about Kepler with such energy. Are you envisioning becoming an expat maybe?
Well, you know, I'm under the gun here to get some information on this Twin defense. I kind of pulled the rabbit out of my hat there on that one. That was hard to miss.
Known as the Berlin Wall, I guess, in right field.
As long as nothing gets by him. If it does, it might be. Rios has been particularly vulnerable early in games. In the first 2 innings, his ERA is 11.76. So the Mets hoping to jump on this rookie quickly. He got knocked out in the 3rd inning by the Indians his last start Sunday. Gave up 5 runs in 2 2/3. Twins' Achilles heel all year has been their pitching and their defense.
Threw that one by him.
1-2 to Cabrera.
We've seen the Mets, though, in the last couple of weeks, 3 weeks, face a pitcher that had a high ERA like Urania in Miami and not be able to mount too much of an offense against them.
Sun setting a little earlier now as we move toward the end of summer.
Fall is in the air.
And Cabrera strikes out on the high fastball for the first out.
Got a live arm. Just got to make him get it down, make him throw strikes.
So 1 out and 1 on. Now Cespedes, who had a rough series in Washington, just 1 for 10 in the 3 games against the Nats. Mets didn't generate much offense as a whole in that series. Just 6 runs in the 3 games against Washington. Hoping to get the offense back on track now. Facing nothing but teams that currently have 500 or losing records the rest of the way. Cespedes at 288, 30 home runs, and he hits that one down the right side foul. 0-1.
Watch the ball behind the back of Berrios. See how it's exposed? So that's the first time you pick it up as a hitter and then pick it up again. But still got it by Cabrera.
Does the wrap make it more difficult for him to maintain his arm angle and his delivery?
Arm angle and release point. That's the key. Is that you want to release the ball in the same spot over and over. He's not going to be able to do that yet until he figures that out.
Bert Blyleven came in and talked with us, Ron, before, and he said that with that little wrap, he goes, he hasn't got the arm speed that Sutcliffe had, who did it. He has a hard time catching up to the body. His arm lags behind.
And that's on the corner. 0-2 to Cespedes.
Question for you: if your arm is lagging behind, isn't that throwing a lot of stress on the shoulder?
I used to do that early in my career. I had to stop it by standing up against the wall and put my arm up against the wall straight instead of behind my back because it was hurting my shoulder. So that's what he'll have to do at some point if he wants to, unless he's just a freak of nature. That can happen too.
Keeping the ball away from Cespedes. Berrios is only 22. He was a first-round draft pick by the Twins in 2012 from Puerto Rico. In fact, he was a supplemental first-round pick, compensation pick for when the Twins lost Michael Kadire to free agency. And Kadire went to Colorado. And of course, Michael subsequently became a Met before he retired. Cespedes gets jammed but fouls it off. Well, the Mets are playing on their favorite day of the week. And by that, I don't mean Friday. I mean the day after an off day. When the Mets have had a scheduled off day this year, they come back the next day. They're 13-2 this year.
Well, obviously on their off day, they're getting their rest. Very good.
Well, I think it makes sense for a team that has some older players who've been banged up a little bit.
I think it has all to do with they come to the ballpark so early. Geez, it's nice to get away from the stadium.
You know, I was mentioning to you guys the Giants winning last night. Bruce Bochy had his team report at 5 o'clock. They won. and he's doing it again today. 5 o'clock report time.
So no BP.
Breaking ball out of the strike zone. Well, that'll be much later tonight. Matt Moore on the mound for the Giants. Luke Weaver for the Cardinals, and that's where the standings sit after the Giants win last night. Wild card standings presented by Empire City Casino. Miami trying to worm their way back into it. 4 games behind now, and they have Giancarlo Stanton in the lineup tonight for the first time since he's come off the disabled list. Mets will have to play the Marlins the last week of the season.
Going to be a huge series,
and that'll be in Miami.
Cubbies came back and won today, clinched,
and now they can celebrate. That's driven to right center field. Back goes Kepler toward the gap to get it, and that's the second out. Of course, the Cubs clinched last night when the Cardinals lost, but it was 3 a.m. and there was no chance to celebrate. So they got their walk-off win today on the day after, and then they had their party.
Could still go down to the lodge in Rush Street. Might be still available.
A lot. Oh my gosh.
From what I understand, in the bars next to the ballpark at Wrigley, when the Cardinals won, there was a huge roar and a celebration amongst the fans, but the players were home in bed. Here's Granderson. Takes up and away for ball 1. Of course, it was kind of an anticlimax. The Cubs clinching this early. They got their 94th win of the year today. They have a 17.5 game lead. 1-1 to Granderson, who was cooled off mightily after that stretch where he homered in 4 straight games. Just 1 hit in his last 19 at bats. And so the year has gone for Granderson. Every time he's hit a hot streak, it has not lasted long. Reyes at first with 2 down. And he gets jammed and floats one foul. 1-2.
This wouldn't be an awful time for Reyes to go. Worst case scenario, he gets thrown out. You get Granderson, who's led off a lot of this season, leads off the next inning.
Reyes doing plenty of work during this inning, trying to keep Reyes close. And it's 2-2 to Granderson. Twins pitching staff overall last in the American League in ERA, most home runs allowed, most hits allowed, 3rd fewest strikeouts.
They're like the Reds team of the American League.
Been a rough year for them. But they have their best pitcher going tomorrow night. That's Irvin Santana. So it would certainly behoove the Mets to get this game tonight.
They started the season with a 9-game losing streak. 6 times they've lost 5 in a row and more. They've had one 13-game losing streak.
Now Reyes will run on 3-2. Granderson fouls back the fastball.
Well, you saw that those pitching statistics and rankings in the American League. Wow, that is the reason why they are close to losing 100 ball games.
Well, they've had some underperformance. They also lost their closer Glenn Perkins 2 games into the season, which didn't help. 23rd pitch of the inning now for Barrios, and it's inside. He issues his second walk. So the Mets have 2 men on, and Jay Bruce coming up. So another first inning opportunity presents itself for Bruce, who had the key at bat early for the Mets in D.C. in their last game Wednesday. Bases loaded, 1 out, first inning, took a call, 3rd strike, and the Mets wound up getting shut out that day. Jay overall was 3 for 25 on the road trip.
It has been a struggle for him, and this is a pitcher that's going to throw fastballs, so maybe he can square one up. There's no mystery what this young man's going to throw. It's going to throw that gas.
Starts him off away for ball one. Maybe it's worth noting that in Berrios' last 3 starts, he's given up a 3-run homer in each one. 2 on here for Bruce. And that's in tight, 2-0.
Gary, you set it up for him. All he's got to do is hit it.
You know, it feels as though Jay has not had a lot of 2-0 counts since he's been with the Mets. He has been 0-2 a lot. So here he is with a hitter's count to work with. And he golfs one foul.
Oh, well.
Somebody got him.
At least it's not the hot foot.
Oh, Milwaukee.
Less painful, more embarrassing. Reyes at second, Granderson at first with 2 out. And Bruce foul tips it 2-2. Mostly fastballs from Berrios in this first inning.
I've got him down for 1 slider. One.
There's no one. You know what you're going to get here. Just be ready. He's throwing bullets.
2 out, 2 on, 2-2 to Bruce. And that's just inside, full count. See the frustration on Berrios' face. About to throw his 29th pitch of the inning. TJ Rivera's on deck. Plawecki discovered the gum on his hat. I don't know if that's a good sign or a bad sign. Runners get set to go. Reyes and Granderson. And Bruce takes outside, the 3rd walk of the inning. And now the bases are loaded for TJ Rivera. And an early visit to the mound for the Twins pitching coach, former Met.
Oh boy.
Time traded for Keith Hernandez. That would be Neil Allen.
I was keeping it very undercover, covert. But now the cat's out of the bag. There's Neil.
Where's Rick Ownby?
That's right. He's flipping frisbees with his bare feet.
Neil had a great curveball and a very live fastball. He was never a treat to hit off of.
Neil has a lot of places in Mets history. He was a bright young star. He was traded for Keith, and he gave up the opening day home run to Gary Carter in Kidd's first game as a Met.
I can remember that run in the days of his playing days.
So TJ Rivera back home after his big moment in D.C. on Tuesday night when he hit the 10th inning home run that put the Mets over the top in the only game they won in that series. Reyes, Granderson, and Bruce the base runners. So the Mets again loading the bases in the first inning, hoping to cash in against the rookie Berrios. And it's outside to Rivera.
He goosed that one, Ronnie.
Yeah.
Little Archie Bell.
30 pitches deep into this opening inning for Berrios. Rivera hits one deep to center. Buxton gets turned around, but he finds it. And that retires the side. TJ gave it a pretty good ride, but Berrios able to find his way around 3 first inning walks after 1 no score. Second inning, no score. Max Kepler leads off for the Twins and takes a strike from Cologne. Kepler, 23-year-old rookie from Germany, first player born and raised in Germany to make it to the big leagues. His parents were both ballet dancers. His father was Polish. His mother was American from San Antonio.
How cool is that?
And when the Twins signed him at age 16, he came to Florida to finish high school while he was a professional baseball player. On the inside corner, and Kepler's caught looking at that two-seamer. Cologne claims another victim, and there's one out in the second. Your Mets Power Pitchers of the Week brought to you by East Coast Power and Gas. Mets starting pitchers with the third lowest ERA among any staff in the National League. Not an aberration that those 5 teams are all among the top 5 teams in the league.
Yep.
Kurt Suzuki, the veteran catcher, back in the lineup tonight. He got 5 stitches in his chin a couple of days ago when a ball was fouled off his mask. It's the second time this season he's had a cut open like that on his chin. Sat out just 1 game. Tough guys from Hawaii.
Right. Kid, do you remember when Gary Carter had that rash that he got on his forehead from the mask? He could not get rid of it the entire season.
I forget that. What year, you remember?
I don't remember what year, but you know, when you have an injury to your chin for a catcher, I mean, that's just going to keep reopening until it heals this winter with some nice salt water.
So Kurt Suzuki, see his numbers against Cologne, one of 40 players born in Hawaii that have played in the majors. He's now 3rd on the all-time list of games played, behind Mike Lum.
Okay, Mike Lum
and Shane Victorino.
Wow.
You remember Mike Lum, right?
Of course.
Left-hand hitter for the Braves.
Come off the bench a lot, though. He played for the Giants, too, didn't he?
The Reds. I know he went to the Reds. He was a good hitter.
Suzuki in his 3rd year with the Twins. Started out with Oakland after coming out of Cal State Fullerton. And he chases the pitch off the plate. And Cologne has back-to-back strikeouts to start the second.
Making Cologne look like Walter Perry Johnson out here. 3 punches.
So 2 out and nobody on. 3 strikeouts in the book for Cologne. They'll now take on Eduardo Escobar, the switch-hitting third baseman. Escobar has played 5 different positions for the Twins this year. Regular third baseman Trevor Plouffe out for the year. The most recent third baseman Miguel Sano has a bad back. He's back in Minnesota, not available in this series. So Escobar is playing there tonight. And it's 0-2. Unforgettable games, undeniable greatness, and unstoppable drama. The 2016 postseason begins October 4th. For more information, go to Mets.com/postseason. Escobar stays alive. 92 from Cologne on that 4-seamer.
Yeah, it's that little brisk coolness in the air. You get a second wind. This is really the first fall night, kind of close to fall night, that the Mets have experienced. It's just a shot in the arm, I can tell you that.
Temperature in the 60s tonight. Escobar rolls over one. Easy play for Loney, and a very tidy 1-2-3 inning for Bartolo Colon. Middle of the second. Mets and Twins, no score. He has friends everywhere. Home second inning. James Loney leads off against Jose Barrios, who worked his way around 3 walks in the first inning. Loney at .261 on the year. Travis d'Arnaud on deck, then Bartolo Colon. Mentioned in the open today, one of the news items for the Mets today is that Lucas Duda should rejoin the team tomorrow. Now, Lucas has been out since May. He was not able to play in any rehab game because the minor league season is over. All he's been able to do is take live batting practice. So the expectation is that Loney pops this one up near the plate. And Suzuki battling it and stays with it.
Almost 3 circles and a dive there.
He looked like a drunken sailor.
Caught that in fair territory. Anyway, the expectation is that Duda's not going to start games when he comes back, that he be available as a pinch hitter. And how effective you can be, Keith, as a pinch hitter when you haven't been in a game in 4 months and you haven't had any rehab games.
And you've had a fractured back. You know, geez, it's like uncharted waters. I don't know how effective Lucas could be.
Travis d'Arnaud hits one right at the shortstop, Polanco. And that's the second out.
That was interesting. Have we seen the shift like that? 3 men on the left side against d'Arnaud?
Well, he's been pulling the ball between third and short. I'm not surprised it hasn't happened sooner.
So now Colon gets the turn at bat. I guess as far as Duda is concerned, having the threat of Duda off the bench in a big situation against a right-handed relief pitcher.
One swing can lose it.
And you know, Lucas has been in the major leagues long enough that the teams he's going to be playing against, he might have some at-bats against guys that he has good numbers against. That might give him some confidence.
You realize with Lagares activated today and Duda tomorrow, that'll give the Mets 39 players.
It's a 40-man roster.
I don't ever recall any team having 39 active players. That's one crowded dugout. And Colon in take mode, 2-2.
Notice this inning, Barrios working a little quicker. Maybe Neil Allen had something to do with that.
Colon on the 5th pitch was ready to swing.
He takes a rip. Hard.
He's been working, Keith, on getting that foot down a little earlier. Get that bat in a better place.
That's not a bad swing.
And now he takes strike 3 called. One swing was enough for Barton that at bat.
A lot of effort in that swing.
Second strikeout for Barrios, and the youngsters strikes out the master. changes coming in the neighborhood around Citi Field. Eddie Rosario leads off the third inning for the Twins and takes below the knees from Colon. Rosario, the left fielder, is 24 years old. Finished 6th in the American League Rookie of the Year balloting last year. Among other things, he had 15 triples as a rookie, so he can run.
That's what's surprising about those pitching numbers for the Twins. Their ballpark is like Citi Field. It's a great park to pitch in.
Just not great enough.
Yeah.
I mean, the Twins have hit their share of home runs. They've hit 183. Just below the midpoint of the American League. The problem is they've given up 204, which is more than any other team in the American League. Seems as though no park is immune to the home run this year.
That's right.
1-2 to Rosario. Byron Buxton on deck. Colon has struck out 3 over the first 2 innings. Going for his 232nd win tonight. Bart has made no secret of the fact he'd like to get to 246, which would make him the winningest pitcher from Latin America of all time. Reached for and popped up. Reyes toward the tarp, over the shoulder, and he can't get there. Awkward angle for Jose.
Well, Bart's averaging 14 wins a year for the Mets. Here's that play.
Well, he started going over his shoulder like a long bomb receiver. Remember, Jose is used to a ball down the line. For him, he's running sideways to the fly ball. Third base, you got to run towards the outfield like you're running a long bomb pattern. It's a little different, tougher catch.
Seventh pitch to Rosario, and he strikes out in the foul tip. That's 4 strikeouts for the first 7 batters for Colon.
High fastball, threw it by him too.
Well, what's interesting is that we have a 20-age difference between pitchers, and they both do the same thing: throw fastballs. One locates it, one's trying to.
Well, you can say Barrios is at a point in his career that Colon was 20 years ago. Here's Buxton. Byron Buxton, the 2nd overall pick in the draft in 2012 out of Baxley, Georgia, 22 years old, still trying to figure it out offensively at the big league level. But since his latest recall, he's done a little better. It's tied up that time. Buxton, since the 1st of September, hitting .347, and he's driven in 14 runs this month.
I envision him being an Andrew McCutchen kind of player at some point.
Corner, and it's 1-2.
Got a very young lineup. It's the kind of lineup that a veteran pitcher, the class of Colon, can pick apart.
Been carving them up so far. 2-2 now to Buxton. We're talking about Colon going for the record, which for Latin American pitchers, which Dennis Martinez holds at 245. So he's what, 15 wins away from surpassing that.
Yeah, a year away.
There's another record out there which is probably beyond his reach. Ground ball past the mound, and there's Cabrera to snag it against the speedy Buxton. He throws him out 2 away. And that record belongs to a guy who's in the ballpark tonight. The record for most wins by any pitcher born outside the United States belongs to Bert Blyleven, who was born in the Netherlands, won 287 games, and is here tonight doing TV for the Twins.
He's right next door to us on the right.
287 is probably too much to ask.
Yes.
There's a call strike.
There's Bert
On the left.
the great curveball. He had a lot of rotation.
60 shutouts.
Yeah.
60. Grounded toward the hole, and that'll sneak through for a base hit for Barrios in his first big league at bat. Jose Barrios has a base hit. First time he has swung the bat in a game since high school.
No minor league at bats, no major league at bats, and he gets his first knock against someone 20 years his senior.
And it's the first hit of the game for the Twins.
Easy, isn't it?
So now it's Brian Dozier, who struck out on 3 pitches his first time up. Let's put on the full shift against Dozier. 3 infielders on the left side. Only playing behind Barrios, the pitcher, running at first. Let's go back to Dozier's first at bat.
Kept the ball away from him. Just very plain and simple. Stayed outside. Fastballs. Again, all the same. The first one was a little high.
A little high. Darno does a nice thing. He catches that ball right against his chest, lets it break just a little bit more for the umpire to see.
Comes inside that time. First pitch. Well, you know, what do you do off a guy like Colon? Now you're an American leaguer, but you've got to be looking fastball, because you're going to get 80% fastball, and he's going to move it in and out. So there isn't really much thinking going on here. If you're a left-hand hitter, you got to be very conscious of that fastball that he likes to start at your hip and sneak it over that inside corner. That's the one you've got to put in your back pocket.
That's the pitch you got to watch out for. Anything down is good against Dozier. Anything up, you're playing with fire. Although that was a changeup, we took enough off of it.
But it's really true. You look at video of Dozier's home runs, and almost everything is belt high and above. Trying to run down Davey Johnson's record for most home runs by a second baseman in a season. Technically, Davey hit 42 as a second baseman, but he hit 43 overall, and that's recognized as the record. Dozier has 39 of his 41 as a second baseman, but you know, again, a guy who's primarily a second baseman, he's 2 behind Davey Johnson for that record that Davey set as an Atlanta Brave. Grounded slowly down to third, and it's a fair ball grabbed by Reyes, and he has no play. That ball was headed right for the bag. Nothing Reyes could do. So now the Twins have 2 men on.
Well, we've talked about, and we've noticed that Jose likes to play that deep third base, which I haven't got an issue with 2 strikes. That's a swinging bunt right there. Even in my day, I would have beat that one out.
Well, that infield hit gives Brian Dozier a 20-game hitting streak, and that's the untold story about Dozier. It's not just the home runs, but he's a guy who's been a 230, 240 hitter, and he's hitting over 280 this year.
His numbers all across the board: 35 doubles, 5 triples, 99 runs scored,
81 extra base hits, which ties him for the American League lead. Here's Mauer, who walked his first time up, batting with 2 out and 2 on. So back-to-back 2-out hits against Cologne.
You know what I like about Bart? I hate to say that, Bartolo, so much that's his proper name, Ronnie, is that there's Dozier with 41 home runs, and there's Bartolo changing none of his game plan, throwing him fastballs, doing it what this is my game. I'm not going to change my game to get someone out.
Working it away to Mauer, and he falls behind 2-0.
You know, when you look at ball clubs, Minnesota's not deep. They have a lot of young players playing, but you can get yourself in a pickle like Bartolo has right here. There's 2 outs, and they have one of their best hitters up in Joe Mauer.
There's a strike. 2-1. Rios at second, Dozier at first with 2 out. First time the Twins have had a runner as far as second base. And Mauer takes it high. Now it's 3-1.
He's just not going to swing outside of the strike zone. Mauer, incredibly patient. Joey Votto patient.
6th in the American League in walks. Drew a walk his first time up tonight. Switch hitter Jorge Polanco on deck. Cologne behind 3-1. And he walks Mauer again, and now the bases are loaded. So the second walk for Cologne. Both have gone to Mauer. And Polanco will come up with the bases full. You could win a gas card. Just follow SNY on Twitter during the 5th inning of tonight's game for details on how to enter the SNY 5th inning sweepstakes presented by Tri-State Ford.
I like the way this guy swung the bat his first time up. Polanco. He's got a nice little swing. Quick bat.
Polanco hit a comebacker into a 1-6-3 double play. A nimble move by Cologne to turn it.
Stands close to the plate.
So an early moment of truth for Cologne. Bases loaded and 2 out. And Polanco takes one on the inside corner. That two-seamer coming back. 0-1.
Remember, though, you got to be careful inside there. That was a perfect pitch. But remember, he left one a little bit over the plate, and Polanco pulled one down the right field line. Just missed being fair.
Polanco, a switch hitter, a little better right-hand hitter than left. Getting 261 from this side of the plate. Ball and a strike.
Bartolo's going to go inside to get him, Ronnie. I think that's. I just think he's showing him away. Got ahead. He doesn't walk anybody, though he's walked Mauer twice. I don't think he wants to monkey around with Mauer.
It's almost like he wants to get one more foul away or strike away and then come in.
Let that ball away from Polanco, and it's 1-2.
Getting a lot of movement on that ball.
That's the perfect scenario. Got the foul ball on the ball running away. Now he can pop one in, try to get the call.
This is all developed after 2 out and nobody on. A hit by the pitcher Barrios, the infield single by Dozier, the walk to Mauer. And now Cologne about to throw his 28th pitch of the inning. 1-2 to Polanco. And he comes inside, and Polanco able to fight it off.
He put a little extra on there. 693 and straight gas, Ron. Whew, a little dart he threw there.
Just think about it. Barrios is pitching against Cologne. He's throwing 93, 94. That means 20 years from now, he has to be able to do the same thing. 20 years from now.
Again, the 1-2. Lifted to left. Cespedes toward the line. Side retired. So Cologne gets out of 2-out trouble in the 3rd. Top of the batting order coming up for New York in the bottom of the 3rd. Mets and Twins, no score. 10-game homestand starting tonight. 3 with the Braves, 3 with the Phillies, and then the last road trip of the year takes the Mets to Miami and Philadelphia. 16 games in all, including tonight. Every one of them of utmost critical importance. Jose Reyes led off the game with a walk against Jose Barrios, and he takes a changeup for a strike. Reyes, Cabrera, and Cespedes against Barrios, who walked 3 in the first inning and then worked a 1-2-3 second. Starts off Reyes with back-to-back changeups after throwing almost all fastballs first time through the order. Sails the fastball outside, 2-1. Well, Barrios, who had an 11.76 ERA in the first 2 innings, has survived the first 2 innings tonight. 2-2 to Reyes.
I think one thing they could do for Suzuki and the Twins to simplify it for Barrios as Cabrera on deck. He keeps sitting on the corners. He's not ready to throw the ball to the corners. Kind of sit in the middle and let the movement take it.
Here's a breaking ball.
Year-old Jose Barrios, just his 12th major league start. And the breaking ball hit deep to right field. Back goes Kepler near the wall. It's out of here. Jose Reyes gives the Mets the lead with his 7th home run of the year. Reyes leads off the 3rd with a long ball, and it's 1-0 New York. Gets the Mets the lead. Now Cabrera.
Breaking ball. Just kind of a little flopper up there. Jose just gets a beat on it. Nicely done. A little dancing in the street in the dugout.
Martha and the Vandella.
There it is right there. Curveball.
And Cabrera drives one to deep right field, and that ball is out of here. Into the Coca-Cola corner, back-to-back for Reyes and Cabrera, and it's 2-0 New York.
Second time through the order.
20th home run of the year for Asdrubal Cabrera. Only the 2nd time in his career he's hit 20 home runs in a season. And blondes have more fun.
And he jumped on first pitch here too. Like, okay, we got an idea now how hard this guy throws. I'm gonna get the fastball. Upper tank.
It's almost like Barrios came out trying to be cute in this inning. Couple changeups, couple breaking balls. He gets hurt by Reyes, goes back to the fastball, and Cabrera was all over it.
Well, those Mets home runs mean $2,000 for no kid hungry enough to provide 20,000 healthy meals courtesy of Citi. Well, Jose Reyes had the record for home runs by a shortstop by men this season with 19. Cabrera's at 20 now, 19 of those as a shortstop, so technically he has tied Reyes's mark. Now Cespedes. He pops one foul. Bauer comes over for a look. And at the railing, not quite long enough arms to get that.
Shades of Ike Davis.
Without the flip.
Who is the guy ducking? Right underneath them. We got to clear out of there.
Barrios, who was able to get through the first 2 innings despite 3 walks in the first, finds the second time through the batting order unrelenting. Reyes and Cabrera back to back, and now 1-1 to Cespedes. And that's too high.
Well, he's going to have one Stratomatic car with home runs, let me tell you.
Now the Mets now are just 1 shy of a club record for home runs in a season that they set 10 years ago. And the curveball finds the inside corner, 2-2.
No, Cespedes' beef there. It's not a good breaking ball. Didn't really break, kind of hung on that inside corner. Thought you don't get a call.
Thought it broke. He probably thought it broke around the corner.
And another breaking ball. This one lifted to center. And Buxton comes in under it. And that's the first out of the inning. So 1 away now. Curtis Granderson, who walked his first time up. And as usual, the Twins put 3 infielders on the right side against Granderson.
Most everybody does.
Well, it seems as though the Mets left-hand hitters see more shifts than anybody, and it's for that reason. 83% of his last 120 ground balls and short liners were to the right of second base, so they're playing the percentages.
That's right. A lot of times that works in your favor if the pitcher can kind of pitch to the shift. Orioles cannot do that. Just trying to survive.
The Mets don't do a whole lot of shifting, but boy, they get shifted against a lot. Only one other National League team has been shifted against more than the Mets, and that's the Cubs. Science of Baseball brought to you by Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. More science, less fear.
You know, what's interesting about that is that when Joe Madden was the Tampa Bay Rays, he was almost the godfather of shifting, and now the Cubs defensively shift less than any team in the National League.
Guess it depends on your personnel too,
Yeah.
right? Granderson pops one up. A long run for Escobar, the only infielder on that side of the field, and he's not going to get there.
Gee, that's 2 now.
With no shift, that's an automatic pop up to the third baseman, but Escobar was playing over near shortstop and just couldn't get there.
Well, you're playing the percentages, which I totally understand, but a pop-up that falls in just looks like an awful baseball play
And
to me.
We've seen that a couple of times recently as the Twins get the bullpen going. Lefty Pat Dean is up. I don't think they factor that in.
Of course not.
To the success or failure of the shift, those pop-ups that fall like that. Granderson pops one up into shallow right. In comes Kepler to call. 2 out.
Well, that's the breaking ball to Reyes. Just right, well, a little away, but Reyes was able to hook it into right field.
Look how on top of the plate Cabrera is. So he's really got that outside corner covered, Ronnie.
2-0 fastball that Cabrera hit out. The last time the Mets hit back-to-back home runs, it was Reyes and Cabrera, August 26th. Not often that your 1 and 2 hitters are your back-to-back guys.
Well, this is the guy the Mets are just hoping can catch fire.
One and 1 to Bruce. Gets beat on that fastball, and it's 1-2. Well, you got a little over 2 weeks to go in the season, and the time is now for Jay Bruce. And he knows it as well as anybody. Chases the high fastball, and he's down on strikes. Third of the night for Barrios, but not before the Mets played a couple back-to-back homers by Reyes and Cabrera.
not a small ball team.
Grand slam, Kelly Johnson.
And more of a get a good ball to hit, and drive it.
And he cracks one to center field.
It's out of here! Yoenis Cespedes turns the game around.
It has been the story of the Mets season with the bats. 199 home runs, just one shy of a club record. 2 more tonight, and the Mets out to a 2-0 lead as we go to the 4th. Max Kepler leading off against Bartolo Colon. Kepler was called out on strikes his first time up, and he lines one the other way. Cespedes, though, is there and drops the ball. Well, you know, Cespedes plays the ball casually all the time, and it looks awfully cool, but that's what happens sometimes. Sometimes you don't catch it.
Well, number one, it's you embarrass yourself with the nonchalance, and you hurt your team. You know, you're going to catch that ball, you know, 99 out of 100 times, maybe 999 out of 1,000, and it may happen and cost your team the game. It may cost your team a pennant.
So the error on Cespedes gives the Twins a leadoff base runner, and now Kurt Suzuki, who struck out his first time up. Fifth error of the year for Cespedes. I guess that comes under the heading of it's all fun and games till somebody gets hurt.
That's right.
Oh, you hurt the team.
Exactly. And as a player, having had that happen to you, does it chasten you? Does it change the way you go about it the next time?
No,
it depends on the player.
Yeah, it depends on the player. I think he has, you know, his style is part of his play, and his style can be very chancy at times.
Well, you got Willie Mays all those years of the basket catch.
It was almost a pickoff for Colon on that ball dug out of the dirt by him.
Well, it could have been a pickoff. I think he's out at first base, and they should check it.
And the Mets are waiting to see if they're going to challenge this.
They can't. He's going to do it too.
Yeah. It bounces right into his hip. James catches it, and the same armpit. Let's say the armpit.
Nice pickup, nice tag, and a nice little pirouette to get on over the top of Kepler.
The advantages right there of having a left-handed first baseman with the glove on the right hand.
And the Mets are challenging the call. Play under review brought to you by Mazda. Driving matters. The replay officials in Chelsea, Tom Hallion's crew, Bill Miller's crew, they're the umpires in charge of making the calls this week.
Well, you can't say that Brian Gorman was not in the right position. He literally was 3 feet from where the call came.
And that's where the ball appears to be in the glove and contacting the runner Kepler with the hand not yet on the bag.
You'll see it right here. It's a good shot. Boom.
There's the tag.
Boom.
OUT.
And we're about to get the call. And he's out. So credit Colon with a pickoff. Credit Loney with a beautiful save. And that's the first out of the inning, and it makes up for the Cespedes error. Very tough to run against Colon. He's given up 8 steals this year, but that's unusual for him.
Listen, he's sneaky athletic, got good feet, accurate throw to first, and Kepler cannot get picked off trailing by 2.
Nope.
Suzuki goes after sinker. There's 0-1. So that sort of takes Cespedes off the hook.
Just got to take Colon out to dinner.
Yeah.
And that could be expensive.
In the air to right center, hit pretty well. Back goes Bruce to the edge of the track to get it. 2 out. So Suzuki is retired. We're talking about Colon stolen bases. 8 against him this year. It's the most he's had in any year against him since 1999.
Well, he does what any veteran would do. He changes his times to the plate. If you notice, he's very quick to the plate, has a slide step. So all of those things factor in.
So 2 out and nobody on. Now Eduardo Escobar.
He's just the master of changing speeds. He's really a one-pitch pitcher, Ronnie.
Yeah, he is.
And he just moves it in and out. A little extra here, a little off there. He knows exactly what he's doing.
Getting up on that four-seamer, and it's 0-2.
And don't forget, when Bartolo started so long ago, he had to learn how to control the running game himself, not manager or coach making the call.
Escobar flies one out to left. Cespedes with another chance, handles this one with no problem, and that retires the side. Colon picks up Cespedes, and the Mets lead 2-0 in the fourth. The 2-0 lead. TJ Rivera will lead off against Jose Barrios. TJ batted with the bases loaded and 2 out in the first inning. Hit the ball well to center field, but Byron Buxton was able to go back and get it. Rivera's 11th start for the Mets, his 3rd in a row, as he tries to take command of the second base job in the absence of Wilmer Flores, who had a shot in his hand yesterday. Turned out his hand more than his neck was what was ailing Wilmer since his home plate collision. And Rivera trying to turn Wilmer into Wally Pipp.
Yeah.
Barrios behind him 2-0. And TJ lines a base hit. In to get it is Rosario, and Rivera has himself a leadoff single.
Get to Citi Field tomorrow, Saturday, September 17th, when the Mets play the Minnesota Twins at 7:10 p.m. The first 15,000 fans in attendance will receive a Jacob deGrom hair hat, courtesy of Geico. For tickets, visit Mets.com/tickets.
Dave,
Come on, do a nice job modeling the hat.
Dave, drop your hands. Dave, you're fine. Put your hands on your hips. There you go.
Oh, stand up, sit down.
Fight. Dave Freed, our statistician, handling the deGrom hair hat promo. Very nicely done.
He's wearing multiple hats this year, isn't he?
He's expanded his repertoire, that's for sure. Jack of all trades, master of none.
Exactly.
So, Dave, I'm wondering, are you bringing the hair hat home to wear the model for your wife?
I might go out after the game and
That one's a shot into right center, a base hit for Loney. Rivera will go first to third. And the Mets have runners at the corners with nobody out. Dave's modeling at the hair hat, proving inspirational, and the Mets have the first 2 men on.
Fastball away. Good top hand by Loney. Right in the nose, so he gets it by Dozier. Nice job by Rivera going first to third.
That ball was first hit. I thought it might have a chance to be a double play ball, but he just hit it too hard. So first and third and nobody out. Travis d'Arnaud coming up. So what you're saying, Dave, is that you're figuring you're going to go out amongst the public and show off your hair hat? Yeah, that's what I thought.
Going to be a little bit like the Geico commercial. The caveman.
I thought you meant the gecko.
No.
Ball one to d'Arnaud, who grounded out to short his first time up. So Barrios, who gave up the back-to-back homers to start the third, has given up back-to-back singles to start the fourth. Alone on deck. And d'Arnaud takes the breaking ball down 2-0. You know, there's a lot of conversation with d'Arnaud being sat on the bench the last 2 days about Travis's lack of power this year. And folks at Elias were kind enough to run his production. And look at that. Look how his slugging percentage has gone down significantly this year. Pops one up.
Oh, Tough. You got to get out of the way, Tough. Jeez. Oh, Tough. You're lucky I'm not in uniform. I'll be all over you. Toughy.
Can a coach be called for an?
Yes, I think so. I think so.
He's supposed to get out of the way.
Right.
He just didn't know which way to go.
I'll hear it from Tim tomorrow.
Just going back to d'Arnaud and his slugging percentage for a moment. Last year, he was second in the major leagues among catchers in slugging percentage. This year, he's 23rd. So it just shows you how the production has diminished. Now let's see what the Mets do with Colon here. In his last start, 2 double plays, one when he swung and one when he bunted. And he tries to bunt and fouls it off.
Bartolo knows this young pitcher is a little wild, so his heart and other parts of his body wasn't really into getting close enough to attempt that bunt.
Oh, Escobar at third is in aggressively in at third base. And I wouldn't be surprised if Terry lets him swing the bat here.
And he was ready to swing as Suzuki backhands that one.
We've seen it a couple times this year, though. They've let Bartolo swing, and the result has been a double play and out of the inning.
Well, as we said, the last start, he swung one time, grounded into a double play, bunted another time, and hit a little pop-up into a double play. So it didn't seem to matter. And that's on the corner 1-2. The best scenario might be for him just to take a strike.
You can do that.
Yeah. And just leave it to Reyes. Rivera at third, Loney at first with one out. And Colon makes contact and fouls it off. This crowd still gets into everything that he does with the hitter.
Sure do.
Even the foul balls. One-two coming, and he bunts in the air, foul. Strike 3. So there's the 4th strikeout for Barrios, and there are 2 out of the inning.
Well, let's see how he goes after Jose. Jose took him to the bridge on a breaking ball.
On the last at bat, he started Reyes off with 2 changeups, and then he wound up throwing 2 straight breaking balls, the second one of which left the ballpark. Reyes' home run was his 7th of the year. He walked his first time up, 1st and 3rd and 2 out. And Jose, it's a little flare on the left side. And Escobar snags and almost run into by Polanco. But Escobar hangs on to end the inning. So the Mets waste a chance in the fourth. They had first and third and nobody out, and they do not score. Almost a little miscommunication there, but Escobar hangs on. 2-0 Mets. By your Tri-State Ford dealers who invite you to test drive a new Ford. You'll discover why Ford is the total package. Eddie Rosario leading off against Bartolo Colon in the 5th inning. Rosario struck out his first time up. Colon has struck out 4 over the first 4 innings. He's walked 2. And Rosario hits one right at Rivera. 1 out. Let's go inside baseball with Steve Gelb. Steve?
Gary, San Diego Padres general manager A.J. Preller has been suspended 30 days without pay by Major League Baseball for what seems like some shady business in how the organization reported injuries. Basically, Major League Baseball has a central database where all teams are supposed to input injury information on their players. That's how, when teams make trades, they exchange medical information. Turns out, reportedly, the Padres had 2 separate files, one that they sent to Major League Baseball in that database that only involved people on the disabled list, and then a separate internal file that had the rest of their players' injuries. Suffice to say, some teams were pretty upset when the players they got in trades this year were a little bit medically different than they thought they were getting.
Well, this was the suspension was directly in the Drew Pomerantz trade to the Red Sox, where they withheld the fact that Pomerantz was taking anti-inflammatory medication. But the tip-off should have been when they had to cancel the trade to the Marlins with Colin Ray.
Yeah.
I mean, that was rescinded so quickly, it's almost as though the Padres knew that they'd better get their house in order. It was the 5th strikeout for Colon against Byron Buxton for the 2nd out.
It's almost like, let's make sure this goes away so no one will look deeper into it.
But I'll say this, and this may sound harsh, but I am shocked that the Padres didn't fire A.J. Preller, because he has a history as well.
That's right. He did it when he was the Texas Rangers. Had a suspension for something internationally when he was an international scout there.
And he was also reprimanded earlier this year for an illegal tryout of an international player. So the guy just keeps piling on these offenses, and I don't know how you keep a guy like that as your GM. Yeah. Logan Schaefer is the pinch hitter, so Barrios is done after 4 innings of work. Schaefer, the former Milwaukee Brewer, batting against Colon, who's looking for his second 1-2-3 inning of the night. And he's quickly ahead on Schaefer 0-2.
You see Schaefer, was he with the Braves or the Brewers? Or
Jordan Schaefer was the one who was with the Braves.
Okay.
Logan Schaefer was the one who was with the Brewers.
That's right.
Both left-hand hitters, both fast. Very confusing. swing, but he held in time. 1-2. And that one, Darno thought caught the corner, but it did not. Bartolo has been right on his game. Last 8 starts, 4-1, 2.52. He has hit his stride at just the right time. With the Mets shorthanded in their rotation, he has been the go-to guy. Every start, no injury issues, no extra time needed. Takes the ball. Hasn't been brilliant every time out, but often enough that he has been incredibly reliable at age 43.
He's a throwback to where it was really a strength for a starting pitcher to be able to make his 32 to 35 starts a year. Never had to worry about him.
On the inside corner, he gets Schaefer looking. 6 strikeouts for Cologne through the first 5. Halfway through at Citi Field, 2-0 New York. Nothing lead.
Well, that's a 2-seamer. He does something. He really digs into that baseball with the pads of his fingers. I was always taught to keep it real loose in your hand, but he kind of overpowers that sinker, and here it is. Just takes that right turn. It's not that he makes the ball move. It's that he has the ability to control movement. That's what changes him from anyone else.
Paint in the corners. Stop by your local Sherwin-Williams store for all your painting needs. Twins go to the bullpen. Michael Tonkin will come in to face Asdrubal Cabrera.
Well, Tonkin's been up 5 different times with this Minnesota team. They have 13 now in their bullpen. I shouldn't say like that's unusual. Almost every team does.
They have 6 left-handers in their bullpen. Not everybody has that. Cabrera fouls one back 1-1.
I almost said 6 left-handers and 6 right-handers. They had 6 left-handers and they got 12. They would have 6 right-handers. Come on.
6'7" Michael Tonkin, 30th round pick by the Twins out of high school in California. Made good. Slider misses low to Cabrera, 2-1. So Barrios threw 80 pitches over 4 innings, gave up 2 runs, 4 hits, walked 3, struck out 4. Allowed the back-to-back homers to Reyes and Cabrera in the 3rd that have accounted for all the scoring tonight. 3-1 to Cabrera with Cespedes on deck. You said Tonkin's been up and down 5 times?
Yes.
And yet he has 60 appearances?
Well, you know, when you have your starting pitchers going 2, 3, 4 innings, you're going to see a lot of innings.
I guess he wasn't down for long.
No.
It's ball 4 to Cabrera. And the Mets have the leadoff man on. There's your 4th, 5th inning recap. Reyes and Cabrera back to back to give the Mets the lead. And ho hum, Bartolo Colon another 5 scoreless innings. Now it's Cespedes. He's 0 for 2 at the plate. Fly to right, fly to center. So Cespedes has had a little cool patch these last 4 games, 1 for 12.
One for 12 is really 3 games. So nothing to be alarmed about. One big 3 for 4, and that wipes out that 1 for 12.
Spoken like a man who's done that before.
Not often. The 1 for 12. More of the 3 for 4s.
Well, I don't know about that, but
I don't know. We just got a new book today from our buddy Brian Kenny.
yeah, we did.
He seems to think that you are Hall of Fame worthy.
Well, everybody's entitled to their opinion.
Who am I to take someone off their thought?
But I'm very appreciative.
That's hit sharply. Nice stop by Polanco. Out at second. Dozier with the turn in time for the double play. A real hot shot off the bat of Cespedes, and a good snag by Polanco to start the Twin kill.
Boy, this is a bullet. In between hop, upper left-hand screen, folks. Watch this. That's just good soft hands right there. Well done. Look how he cushions it coming up, works from the bottom up. That's just good hands.
Didn't exactly look it into the glove, but that's good hands can do that.
It's the good hand, no eye coordination.
That's right.
It's like, look what I found.
That little pearl. Granderson is 0 for 1 and a walk, and he pops one on the third base side. Another long run for Escobar into foul ground, and this one goes back in the crowd. Anyway, Brian Kenny's book is called Ahead of the Curve. I've not yet read it. I'm looking forward to it. Brian, of course, is on the front edge of the kill the win movement.
Yeah, sabermetrics, analytics, puts a lot of thought, a lot of hard work into it.
And loves the debate.
He does love the debate.
It's kind of become his thing. And all power to him. All opinions welcome.
He told me Bill James changed how he thinks about baseball, and what I like about Brian is that he has original thought. A lot of people follow what other people tell him to follow. He has original thought.
Well, and what is gospel in the sabermetric community moves a little bit from year to year. And in fact, what Bill James started, he doesn't necessarily believe everything that he said 20 years ago. 3-1 to Granderson with 2 out. And a fly ball out to left center. And Rosario is there. That retires the side. We've played 5, 2-0 New York. Batting order for Bartolo Colon. Brian Dozier leads off with the Mets up 2-0. And Bart, as he's done all night, keeping the ball away from Dozier on the corner, strike one. Dozier struck out on 3 pitches in the first and an infield hit in the third. 41 home runs for the year, 27 of them since the All-Star break. And that's just off the corner, 1-1. Dozier with his infield hit now has a 20-game hitting streak, the longest of his career. His 5th year after coming out of the University of Southern Mississippi.
Coming in. And he's not a big guy. You look at him and you'd be correct. He's only 5'11", 198 pounds. How about that? So he's not one of these Jolly Green Giants that are playing this game today.
First 63 games, he only had 7 home runs. Last 44 games, 24 home runs. That's crazy.
Wow. That's nuts. That's red hot.
And he hit one of the All-Star games. Tops this one foul. He'll come back out of play. But as Ronnie has noted often this year, it's been quite a year for second baseman. Coming into the day, even apart from Dozier, the top 4 hitters for batting average in the major leagues are all second basemen. Murphy, LeMahieu, Altuve, Pedroia.
Remarkable.
That doesn't even start to factor in some of the others who are having good years. Including the Mets' Neil Walker. Big year he had before he went down with the back surgery.
Now Bart has left a couple of pitches up here to Dozier in this at bat. Second at bat, he threw him a couple of changeups. He hasn't featured that pitch yet this time around.
Seventh pitch of the at bat coming to Dozier, and it's a little high, full count. Colon has walked 2 tonight. They both went to Joe Mauer, who's standing on deck. Well, that's allowed just 2 hits. The infield single to Dozier that came right after the hit for the pitcher Barrios, and that's been it. 3-2 coming, and he fouls it back.
Here's the swing. No toe tapping. Straight stride. Good level follow through. That's what I like. So you don't have to swing up to hit 41 tay-ties.
He lifts this one out to right center, and Bruce goes back on it. 1 out. Well, this is Bartolo Colon now, and this is Bartolo Colon in 1995 when he was hoping to make his major league debut with the Indians. He would make that debut in 1997. And know what it says in these skills. Control and command, only things standing between him and a dramatic move forward. So that was Bartolo then, and he has certainly changed himself from a power pitcher who didn't have great command to a precision expert without the power. Let's check in with the Porsche Grill, and Steve Gelb's report tonight is brought to you by Porsche.
Yeah, Gary, it's pretty incredible. In the year 2000, Bartolo Colon walked 98 batters, an average of about 5 per 9 innings, and he realized at that point in time that he had to totally change who he was as a pitcher. So for the next 5 or 6 years, he said, he would go out to the outfield before games and he would throw against the outfield wall. The ball would leave a mark, and Bartolo would repeatedly try and throw to that particular mark in order to gain his command. And since that time, the numbers have just been stark. From 2005 to the present, he's walking about 1.7 batters per 9 innings. In his career up until that point, double, 3.4 batters per 9.
It's quite a phenomenal turnaround.
Practice makes perfect. Proper practice.
Proper practice. That's the phrase.
Our skies went out to left, chasing Cespedes back, and Yoenis gets there for the second out. 7 in a row retired by Colon. Gets Maurer out for the first time.
Right into the glove.
So 2 out and nobody on. Now Jorge Polanco, who's 0 for 2. That's ripped into center field. A base hit for Polanco.
I like Polanco's stroke.
So there's the Twins' 3rd hit of the night.
Just short, compact, very little take back, good balance.
Just 23 years old, a big part of the future of this Twins team, as is Max Kepler, the 23-year-old from Germany who has taken a call 3rd strike and then reached on an error only to be picked off first base. And this one's lifted out to left. Another easy play for Cespedes. And that retires the side. A hit and 1 left. Colon through 6 scoreless innings. He's got a 2-0 lead.
I'm sitting
And we go to the bottom of the 6th. Lefty Pat Dean, a Connecticut native, faces Jay Bruce.
Quite a schoolboy athlete at Naugatuck High School, basketball and baseball. Went to Boston College.
Teammate at BC of Eric Campbell's. Jay Bruce hits a weak ground ball. The shortstop Polanco playing on the right side throws him out, 1 away. And Bruce starting to hear it from the Citi Field faithful. A little bit unhappy with his lack of production. 1 out and nobody on. TJ Rivera coming up. Let's check out the Mets box score presented by Jeep. Back-to-back home runs for Reyes and Cabrera in the 3rd inning, the only scoring in this game. Mets have now hit 199 home runs this year, 1 shy of a club record that was set in 2006. Rivera has a base hit tonight, a single to left field in the 4th inning. Mets at 1st and 3rd and nobody out in the 4th, but did not score. And Dean fires one on the corner, 0-1. Pat Dean has started 8 games for the Twins this year. This is his 9th relief outing. And he has been hit hard. 12 home runs in 58 innings, 78 hits in 58 innings.
11 home runs to the right-handers who are hitting .340 against him, and you just saw that little lazy breaker right there.
And a weak ground ball by Rivera. Dozier takes care of that for the 2nd out. We should mention this is a very big date in Minnesota Twins history.
Yes.
It was on this date in 1993 that Dave Winfield got his 3,000th hit as a Twin. And it was also on this date 20 years ago today, September 17, 1996, that current Twins manager Paul Molitor got his 3,000th hit.
The rare triple for his 3,000th hit, Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City.
Matched this year by Ichiro Suzuki.
Right.
Molitor got his 3,000th as a Toronto Blue Jay, correct?
No, it was a Twin.
As a Twin, okay. That's right.
I mean, Winfield was a hometown guy who got his 3,000th hit for the Twins. Loney has himself another base hit. That one heads toward the gap. Cut off by Kepler. Loney's going to try for 2. Kepler's throw on a hop, and Loney safe. Hustle double for James Loney. Not fleet of foot, but he got there for his 14th double of the year. And his 2nd hit of the night.
Well, this ball's ripped right here. Kepler cuts it off. Throws on target. He just beat it. Just ahead of the tag. Nice hustle. Loney not fleet of foot, but he's out of the box. He knows it's in the gap. He's thinking too.
Extra base hits have been hard to come by for Loney.
Travis d'Arnaud at the plate. Eric Campbell is out on deck to pinch hit. I don't know if that's a ruse or for real, with Colon due up next. D'Arnaud has to move his feet. You got first base open, so by putting Campbell on deck, I guess you induce the Twins to pitch to d'Arnaud. Colon's at 89 pitches through 6 scoreless innings, so he might be done, but he also might not be. Be interesting if Campbell came up against Dean, since they played in college together at Boston College. 2-0 to d'Arnaud, who was grounded out, and then with 1st and 3rd and nobody out in the 4th, he had a foul pop-up that was caught.
Portola's got his bat though in there, doesn't he?
Yes, he's trying to hide.
I think Campbell on deck is a ruse. Dean behind on d'Arnaud, 2-0. Backdoors the breaking ball for a strike, 2-1.
Feel like there's Fernando Salas, who's everyday Fernando Salas. Luckily he had an off day yesterday.
Bounce back from giving up the home run to Wilson Ramos in the 1-0 loss Wednesday. And now Dean behind d'Arnaud, 3-1. We might find out shortly whether Colon's going to hit or not. Although I wonder if d'Arnaud does get on and a chance to add to the lead, maybe you hit for Colon just because. Trying to add some runs.
I stay with my starter. He's chewing up this lineup.
3-2 to d'Arnaud. Well,
he's got a shut piece going on. In command.
I know the other team will breathe a sigh of relief when you take a pitcher who's got your number.
Loney at 2nd with 2 out. 3-2 to d'Arnaud, and he bounces one foul. Travis came into the day hitting .114 with runners in scoring position. 0-for-1 today. 14 RBIs in 231 at bats. Missed 50 games with the shoulder problem earlier this year and has never quite gotten in the groove. Unlike last year when he came back from the DL and really hit his stride. And Travis strikes out to end the inning. So Pat Dean able to work around the double by Loney, and we'll see if Colon stays in the game. 2-0 going to the 7th. Paul Molitor finished second in the AL MVP voting in 1993. He won. I think I know this one. Kurt Suzuki leads off in the 7th inning against Bartolo Colon, who indeed is still chucking. 6 scoreless innings deep. Struck out 6, walked 2, allowed just 3 hits.
Does that make him a chucker, Garrett?
In the air to deep left field. Back goes Cespedes, and he gets there. 1 out.
Off the end of the bat.
City probables for the remainder of the series. Best the Twins can offer. Irvin Santana goes tomorrow night against Seth Lugo, who's just been terrific. Cal Gibson will pitch Sunday afternoon. Jacob deGrom back from the sidelines. It'll be a foreshortened start, but a start nonetheless for deGrom on Sunday as the Mets try and get him back into working shape.
75 to 80 pitches or so.
Eduardo Escobar takes inside. Escobar's grounded to first, fly to left, 0 for 2. And a ground ball toward the hole. Loney with a nice diving stop. Colon gets over to cover, reaches back for it, and they get the out. Beautifully done by James Loney. 2 down.
Did you see how quick the big fella got over there? Outstanding. First, Keith.
Very nice play to his right, diving, a little throw, a little toss behind him. But Bart is always covering Ron. He never hesitates.
Locomotive.
Locomotive. Right. There it is. No hesitation, Ronnie.
He's amazing. Really is.
And a couple of nice plays in the field tonight. Started a double play in the first inning that took some extreme athleticism. 2 out and nobody on for Eddie Rosario. And he pops one straight up. Cabrera waits for it. 5-pitch inning for Bartolo Colon as he sets the Twins down 1-2-3 in the top of the 7th. Easy as pie. Stretch time. Colon and the Mets up 2-0. End of the year, and Bartolo Colon took the ball for the first of 3 against the Twins, and Colon his usual top of the line self. Offense, it comes from Mets thunder. One by Reyes, one by Cabrera. 199 Met home runs this year. Colon doing the rest. 7 scoreless innings, and the Mets have a 2-0 lead. As we go to the bottom of the 7th, Colon's work appears to be done, and Alejandro De Aza will bat for him, leading off in the bottom of the 7th. Pat Light, the new pitcher for the Twins.
He was with the Boston Red Sox organization, traded here to Minnesota for Fernando Abad.
Light is a hometown kid. Came out of Christian Brothers Academy in New Jersey. Went to Monmouth University down the shore. And now here he is, pitching the big city against Alejandro De Aza. Pat Light, only the 2nd player from Christian Brothers Academy ever to make the big leagues. Much better known for their basketball products than their baseball. Tony Giarratano, who had a cup of coffee with the Tigers in 2005, the only other CBA grad who's played in the big leagues. And De Aza hits one toward the hole, a base hit. So Alejandro De Aza comes through with a pinch hit single, and the Mets have something started in the 7th.
De Aza continues to produce. His playing time has diminished. And you're playing him up the middle, and that opens up that hole on the left side on top of the plate, and you want to pitch him away. I don't understand with that kind of defense, but if I'm hitting, please do it.
So now Reyes, who homered for the first Met run in the 3rd, his 7th of the year. He's also walked and popped up tonight, 1 for 2. And Jose dropping down a bunt. It's a foul ball. Suzuki pouncing right on it as that ball bounced near home plate. If it's a fair ball, they might have had a chance for a double play.
Suzuki, a smaller body catcher. He relies a lot on his quickness behind the plate.
Escobar in on the grass at 3rd against Reyes. And Jose swinging at this one, an off-speed pitch, the splitter from Light, 0-2. SNY Super Slow Motion brought to you by your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing. Light throws that splitter 41% of the time. And again, 1-2.
Well, it's a nasty pitch, but you've got to develop an ability to throw it for a strike so the hitter can't always assume that it's going to be in the dirt.
It was not one of my favorite pitches. Tough pitch for a hitter.
Were there any pitchers who threw splitters that you did enjoy hitting, or is it across the board you didn't like it?
Across the board. It's just you can't read it. The only guy I had good success off of Suter, but that's all he threw. What came in after Bruce was guys that had it as part of their arsenal.
Yeah.
Roger Craig with the Giants.
They threw hard too.
Yep. The only guy that didn't was Mike Lacoste.
Buffy
St. Marie.
Oh, that one caught Suzuki right across the mask.
Well, we talked about his chin before, how he had 5 stitches. So
Ooh,
every time he gets hit on the mask, it's got to scrape across that chin.
Yep, that's got to hurt.
He had 8 stitches in that chin earlier this year, came right back, and then 5 more this last week.
He has something taped inside around his chin, inside the mask, to try to protect his chin.
There's just nothing you can do to protect that, you know?
You know what he needs? October.
It's coming for the Twinkies.
Well, the Mets hope to be experiencing October in a different way.
No, it's coming for Ryan O'Rourke in the pen. It's coming for 20 teams.
No scoreboard to watch tonight because the Cardinals and Giants play later.
But the Mets can flash up a W.
And Reyes strikes out on the splitter for the first out. Drive Around the Majors brought to you by Cadillac. That's the matchup in San Francisco tonight after the Giants won the opener of the series behind Johnny Cueto last night. There is news with the Cardinals. They have taken Jaime Garcia out of the rotation, and Alex Reyes is going to take his place on Sunday.
The 100-mile-an-hour Reyes.
Well, Jaime's just been getting his lunch every time he goes out there. Got a little long ball-itis.
I mean, earlier they gave Reyes a start just to kind of showcase him, get his feet wet. Now it's about winning games.
Yeah.
There's Cabrera, who homered in the 3rd, walked in the 5th, and takes inside from Light. That's a game behind the Giants after the Giants won last night, and a game in front of the Cardinals. Miami trying to hang in there. They got back to 500. They lead the Phillies 2-0 in the 6th tonight. They're going to have to win just about every day. Tom Kohler working on that game for the Marlins. And now 2-0 to Cabrera with Cespedes on deck. So far, the Minnesota bullpen has held the fort. It's often been their Achilles heel, but Michael Tonkin and Pat Dean each threw a scoreless inning. And now Light trying to work around a leadoff hit here in the 7th. Two 2-0 to Cabrera. And as Drupal takes just off the plate, 3-0. The Twins have some decisions to make. They fired their general manager, Terry Ryan, back in the middle of July, and they are in a job search, it seems, for 2 positions to try and fill that one empty role. That's low ball 4, and Cabrera's on for the 3rd straight time. SNY's NFL insider Ralph Vacchiano shares his 3 keys for the Giants to start 2-0 in his video preview of Sunday's matchup against the Saints. Only on SNY.TV, your online home of all things New York sports. And one of the names that has recently been mentioned as a candidate for one of those jobs with the Twins is the Mets assistant GM John Ricco.
Oh, well, good for John. Talented guy.
But with the Twins apparently plan to do is hire a president of baseball operations, and then that individual will then hire a general manager. It seems more and more teams are going to that kind of structure. Management of the Twins has been such an inside job over the last few decades. But now they're expanding their search. Here's Cespedes. He lays off the splitter. It's ball one.
It's interesting. The president GM jobs used to be so closely aligned years ago with the ownership group, and those times are changing. Not that they're not aligned with the ownership group, but that everyone has their kind of position to take care of.
Everybody's looking for the best brains on the baseball side.
That's right.
Cespedes hits one hard up the middle, of base hit. Piazza around third being sent home. Buxton's throw to the plate is cut off. It's an RBI single for Yoenis Cespedes, and the Mets lead is now 3-0. 80th run batted into the season for Cespedes.
Gets the count, gets the fastball, doesn't try to do anything, hit the long ball, drives in another run here. And once again, Piazza in the middle of a run-scoring inning. He led this thing off with a base hit. Cespedes, powerful swing, powerful follow-through.
Now Paul Molitor's got 6 lefties in the bullpen. He'll go to another one of them now. This call to the bullpen brought to you by Verizon. 3-0 Mets. We'll be right back. Ryan O'Rourke is in to pitch for the Twins to face Curtis Granderson with 2 aboard and 1 out. And that one catches Suzuki in the mask again, and that's got to really hurt.
That hit him right on the chin.
Oh, with that wound that he just suffered earlier this week, got 5 stitches, and he just keeps taking a pounding on that spot.
I think he's got to let that thing heal, or he's going to have a big gash. Gosh.
The Twins backup catcher is John Ryan Murphy, the former Yankee.
I mean, you got to appreciate him being a gamer.
He's got to come out.
He's got to come out with the
right in that spot. Wow. I mean, he took one earlier in the across the heart of the mask, but this one was right on the chin.
He's gonna, if he stays in, take him out. If he finishes the inning, take him out after. if you don't take him out now. I know he's not going to want to leave the Wago.
I mean, you don't know what's going on underneath that bandage, but you worry about the stitches opening.
Yeah, if it opens up, it's not going to.
He was feeling to see if it was bleeding or not. Looks like it's not.
It must surely hurt, though. So he'll stay in. He's a catcher.
Yeah.
Catching Ryan O'Rourke, who has the distinction of being the third major leaguer ever from St. John's High School in Shrewsbury, Massachusetts. I have one of the other two sitting to my right.
That's right. Well, you know what's interesting is you see O'Rourke's numbers. Last three pitchers, Dean was from Connecticut, Light, New Jersey, and now a Massachusetts kid.
So you have a little insight?
I do. I called my father, who coached at St. John's High School. He said that he's got a good breaking ball, and he always aspired to be Jesse Orozco.
By the way, the other big leaguer from St. John's High School was Lance Zawatsky, who had a cup of coffee with the Padres. Granderson hits one deep to right. Kepler onto the warning track. Has enough room to make the catch. 2 out.
Got under it.
So now 2 out and 2 on, and Jay Bruce coming up. Bruce tonight has walked, struck out, and grounded out. So here's Jay Bruce in the depths of this unrelenting slump for 6 weeks. What's the first sign you look for that he might have a chance to come out of it?
I would like to see him use left center field, Garrett, because he's just out in front. He's opening in that front shoulder.
And he pulls this one to right to Dozier. And that retires the side.
So when you fly out your shoulder, it's like golf. You're going to slice. When you fly out your front shoulder, your bat's going to lag behind. And I think that's just he's pressing. And there's no doubt about that.
Cespedes with the RBI single expands the Mets lead to 3-0 as we go to the 8th. Field. Curtis Granderson moves over to right. And Addison Reed will take his normal spot pitching the 8th inning.
Yeah, he will. And he has the bottom of the order this time. We've seen Reed time and time again have to go to the meat of that order. What a season he's had. You can just look at those Jeep numbers.
Protecting it for Bartolo Colon, who went 7, allowed no runs, 3 hits, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts, 94 pitches. Colon in line for his 14th win. Byron Buxton leads off. Robbie Grossman has come out on deck to pinch hit, and then Brian Dozier in the 8th inning. Buxton is 0 for 2. He's grounded out and struck out. And Reed gets a slider in for a strike. Don't often see him throw a first pitch slider. Reed last pitched Tuesday night in Washington. Worked a 1-2-3 8th inning. And he's keeping that slider away from Buxton, and it's 0-2. That swing 1-2. And Buxton goes down on strikes. 1 down in the 8th. Cold hard facts brought to you by Clean Crisp Coors Light. Lowest ERA among relievers in the National League. Addison Reed is on that list.
He has had one tremendous year.
Yes, he has.
And if you are a fan of the hold statistic, he's had more of those than any Met in history. 36 holds this year. Robbie Grossman is celebrating his 27th birthday today. And he hits the first pitch in the air to shallow left center. Back goes Cabrera to get it. So Grossman's birthday at bat lasts 1 pitch. 2 out. People's United Bank brings you tonight's starters. Colon brilliant again, lowered his ERA for the season to 3.14. Jose Barrios better than he has been in some of his prior starts, but gave up a couple of home runs. And on this night, with Colon pitching the way he did, that's been enough.
Can you imagine if Bart continues the way he's going? He might have a chance to finish the season with an ERA under 3. Remarkable.
Well, Dozier bats with the bases empty, which is exactly where the Mets want him in a 3-0 game. Dozier has an infield hit in 3 at bats. The infield hit in the 3rd inning served to extend his hitting streak to 20 games. The Twins loaded the bases with 2 out in that 3rd. Colon got through it and never was threatened again. And the slider off the plate, 1-1.
Reed featuring a lot of sliders here in the 8th.
Dozier is 0 for 6 in his career against Reed. Of course, Addison used to pitch in the AL Central with the White Sox. And he goes back to the slider to get ahead 1-2. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Jeep and the unique brand of freedom you'll only find in the full line of Jeep vehicles. Visit Jeep.com to learn more. 2 out and nobody on. 1-2 to Brian Dozier. Struck him out. Got him with a high fastball. A beauty of a 1-2-3 inning for Reed. He struck out a pair. He threw only 9 pitches to get the side out in order. To the bottom of the 8th we go with the Mets up 3-0. He asked who Paul Molitor finished second to in the AL MVP voting. Was it George Bell?
Frank Thomas.
Frank Thomas.
Frank.
Paul Molitor was second. John Olerud third. Juan Gonzalez fourth. But Frank got all 28 first place votes. Buddy Boshears is in to pitch the bottom of the 8th.
Yeah, he has a connection also in the Northeast. Played for the Somerset Patriots in the Independent League. You see a lot of these relievers for Minnesota are well traveled.
That was just last year.
Yeah.
But Sparky Lau still managing that team?
I don't know if he's still managing it, but he has been the manager there.
TJ Rivera leads off the home 8th. TJ's 1 for 3 today, making his 3rd straight start. Jerry's Familia up in the Mets bullpen. Well, we're on picks tomorrow, so the next SNY game will be the final game of this series Sunday afternoon. That'll be Jacob deGrom's return to the mound. Coverage begins at 12:30 Sunday afternoon right here on SNY. Buddy Boshears from Huntsville, Alabama. That's Jeffrey Allen. Buddy Boshears. Geico Sports Night comes your way immediately after the post game. All the latest on the wild card in both leagues. The Jets off that shootout victory last night. Looked like Darryl LaMonica at quarterback. Not Ryan Fitzpatrick throwing the ball down the field.
Where's Warren Wells? I was looking for Warren last night.
Rivera strikes out for the first out in the home 8th.
It wouldn't have happened if we hadn't mentioned Ryan Fitzpatrick's names 3 million times this summer.
Oh, did that come us?
Yeah.
Thought
Never would have happened.
I thought Rex Ryan was a defensive coach.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, I believe the Bills fired their offensive coordinator today. Now they scored 31
points.
One of them was a defensive touchdown, but still.
And they've got Rex's brother running the defense. He's bounced around a few teams.
Looked like he was wearing a Jacob deGrom hair hat. Loney takes the strike. Loney is 2 for 3, a single and a double. Boshears, the 6th pitcher of the night for the Twins.
But a great night for the Jets. A victory. And they should have beat Cincinnati on the opener.
Well,
shoulda, woulda, coulda.
It's because we weren't watching, Keith.
That's right.
We were working that day, remember?
I heard.
You guys start talking about football, my eyes just glaze over.
I don't talk about football, I only talk about the Jets.
That's right.
It's a distinction there.
You tell me those are 2 different things.
They're related, but.
Well, since we're on the subject of football, the University of Cincinnati did a tank job last night. They had a lead in the 4th quarter, and they coughed that up big time.
And who in New York knew that other than you?
It was funny.
And Loney takes a call 3rd strike, so Boshears has back-to-back strikeouts.
Was it a home dog? Is that what you pulled you in?
They were at home against the mighty powerful Houston team, University of Houston. They had them 16-12 with 2 turnovers. Oh, jeez.
I mean, really?
I was laying in bed. I was very happy.
We're talking American Athletic Conference football on this broadcast. Here's Travis d'Arnaud with 2 out and nobody on. Travis is 0 for 3 tonight. And he hits a ground ball to short. Polanco waits on it. That retires the side. 1-2-3 inning for Boshears, and now it's Jerry's Familia bidding for save number 49 as he comes on for the 9th with the Mets leading 3-0. Jerry's Familia coming off a blown save Tuesday night in Washington. Will try again for save number 49 on the season.
Yeah, 48 for 52 for Familia. Little defense problems. His own defense problems and Jose Reyes.
This is an interesting thing. Matt Reynolds has come in to play shortstop. Don't know if anything has happened to Asdrubal Cabrera, whether the knee acted up or anything else. We'll try and find out. But Reynolds is playing shortstop for the 9th inning. Joe Mauer will lead off for the Twins against Familia, who will try for save number 49, trying to tie the record for most saves in a season by a Dominican-born closer. Mauer's walked twice and flied out tonight, 0 for 1. And he takes outside for ball 1. Francisco Cordero had 49 saves in the season. Jose Valverde had 49, and now Familia trying to match them. Jorge Polanco behind Mauer, and then Max Kepler. The Twins, for all of their 92 losses this year, have only been shut out 7 times this season.
Well, the offense has not really been the problem for this ball club. Pitching and defense.
7th in runs in the American League.
Mets have 11 shutout victories this year. Long went the first 7. Reed a perfect 8th, and now Familia trying to close it out. He's behind Mauer, though, 2-0 to start it off. And there's a strike. Most of these Twins hitters are seeing Familia for the first time. Mauer, one of them.
It's not pleasant.
And it's too high, and Jay Reese is behind 3-1. Jorge Polanco on deck, and then Max Kepler. Familia was very upset after his blown save on Tuesday night. Really only gave up 1 hard hit ball in the inning. I think he was probably more upset with himself for not fielding the ground ball that was hit right back at him. But he left without speaking to reporters, which is very unlike him.
Right.
And that's inside, ball 4, and Mauer walks for the 3rd time tonight. So not a good beginning for Familia. Matt Cerrone talks with 33-year-old Brewers GM David Stearns here about his life growing up a Mets fan, how he got involved in baseball operations, and who he thinks will represent the National League this year in the World Series. The latest Mets blog Q&A cast presented by Citi, part of the SNY.TV blog network. And this becomes a very important batter for Familia because the guy on deck, Max Kepler, has some legit power. And if Polanco gets on, Kepler would be the tying run. Polanco's 1 for 3 on a base hit to center field in the 6th inning. Loney playing behind Mauer at first. Polanco takes it low. So the Twins being patient with Familia. Word on Asdrubal Cabrera, a leg cramp, so he was taken out for precautionary reasons. Didn't say which leg or whether it's related to his knee problems, but that's what they're calling it, a leg cramp for Cabrera. That's why Reynolds is in a shortstop.
There you go.
On to Polanco. Orioles just scored 2 in the bottom of the 8th to go in front of Tampa Bay 5-4. Big game for them after losing to the Rays last night. Here's the 1-1. And the slider in for a strike. 1-2 to Polanco.
That was a sharp backdoor slider there from Familia.
Kepler on deck. Mauer at first, nobody out. 1-2 to Polanco. Popped it up. Reyes into foul ground. Has room. 1 out. So Polanco has retired. 1 out and 1 on. And now Max Kepler is 0 for 3 tonight. Kepler 16 home runs this year. in his rookie season, which is pretty surprising in that he never hit more than 10 in any minor league season.
Well, they thought the power was going to come. What's interesting, though, remember Dominic Brown for the Philadelphia Phillies hit all those home runs in May. Kepler hit a lot of his home runs in bunches.
Takes up and away for ball one. Here's the 1-0, and it's fouled back. And they have updated the word on Asdrubal Cabrera. They're saying it's his right leg that cramped, so not the leg where he's had the knee problem. So that's certainly a good news, a good piece of news. Kurt Suzuki, busted chin and all, is out on deck. 1-1 to Kepler. And he hits a chopper. Familia gets it. Goes to first. Gets the out. Wise play. 2 out.
He had the force out, but you know what? 3-run lead. Get the easy out.
Baby steps.
Just get it out.
Exactly.
So now the Twins are down to their final out, and Kurt Suzuki will step to the plate. Suzuki has struck out and flied out twice. I don't know if they rebandaged his chin between innings after he took those 2 shots off the mask. But he's hanging in there, and now he'll face Familia with the Twins down to their last out. And the slider off the plate for ball 1. Kurt Suzuki has an at bat against Familia, 0 for 1. Now we're at second with 2 out. Twins have had just 3 hits all night. And Suzuki takes a slider for a strike, and it's 1-1.
I like when he's in that mode. You notice how he doesn't overthrow that slider. Just dots it on that outside corner.
One and 1 to Suzuki. 1-2.
That is a good fastball.
So now Familia has the Twins down to their final strike. One and 2 to Kurt Suzuki. Slider just missed. 2-2. Low. Full count. If Suzuki gets on, that would bring the tying run to the plate. Eduardo Escobar, the switch hitting third baseman, is on deck.
Well, if you can, Suzuki only has 8 home runs. You just run that sinker up, up there on the knees. No walks.
3-2 coming. Ball 4. Second walk of the inning for Familia. Now the tying run will come to bat.
Cannot make that choice on that pitch.
Not like that pitch selection whatsoever.
Now we're going to get a pinch hitter. Kenny Vargas A power hitting switch hitter will come to bat.
Jeez.
Vargas, normally a DH, will get the call here with the tying run coming to bat.
Switch hitter. Much more success against the left-handers. 14 for 28 against lefties, a 500 batting average, 4 home runs, 203 against the righties with 3 home runs.
Dan Warthen's going to go out to the mound with a scouting report on Vargas, who's in his 3rd year with the Twins. Plays some first base, mostly DHs. He's had a good year this year.
You know, the reason Keith and I perked up there, Gary, is just that there's certain situations in ball games that you're almost not even allowed to throw a certain pitch. You've got one of the best sinkers in the game. You've got a guy who doesn't hit the ball out of the ballpark. You trust that your pitch is better than his ability.
And even if he goes out of the ballpark, you're 3-2.
That's a little undecided where to play their infield. Now Reynolds settles in behind second base. 2 out and 2 on, and Vargas takes a fastball for a strike. Vargas has 7 home runs in just 107 at bats, so he is a legitimate threat. Mauer at second, Suzuki at first with 2 out. 20th pitch of the inning coming up for Familia. And Vargas takes it high, a ball and a strike. Vargas lifts one to left. Cespedes should have plenty of room. And the ball game is over. Jerry's Familia bounces back, works around a couple of walks for his 49th save to tie a Dominican record. Bartolo Colon goes 7 scoreless for his 14th win. And the Mets take the opener of this final 10-game homestand as they shut out the Twins 3-0.
That's the name of the game for me, is that Bartolo Colon, with his consistency, your ability to depend on him to make every start, lowers his ERA to 3.14 with 14 wins. And the Mets did it again, Keith, with some power.
Just 2 of the 3 runs via the home run. Back-to-back home runs in that 3rd inning. That one right there, number 7 for Jose Reyes, number 20 for Cabrera. And then in the 7th inning, the insurance run all started with Diaz's leadoff pinch hit, scoring on the RBI single, the 80th RBI of the year for Cespedes.
Well, Colon continues his remarkable age 43 season, now 14-7 with a 3.14 ERA. Tonight's game summary presented by Jeep. Reed and Familia did their usual job at the back. Familia ties Valverde and Cordero for most saves ever by a Dominican reliever, 49. He'll go for 50 in his next opportunity. For every Mets win, the Mets organization is proud to contribute $2,500 to Northwell Health and the Katz Institute for Women's Health. For more information, visit northwellhealth.com/KIWH. This win brings the total contribution so far this season to $195,000. Mets are now 18-7 over their last 25 games. They move back to 9 games over 500, matching their high water mark for the year. Mets win this one 3-0 over the Twins. We'll come back with more from Citi Field in just a moment.